today I put together a very special video for you all. It's the ultimate deadlift video, and I thought it would be a good idea to bring in an expert, Ryan Calley, to give you guys an in-depth look at this movement, show you all the benefits, share some new knowledge hopefully, and ultimately I just hope you guys enjoy. So without further ado, here's Ryan Calley. Alright everyone, so we got Ryan Calley here. Thanks for meeting with me today.
Absolutely.
Ryan, I'm going to ask you a few questions, man, just to see what you have noticed in the fitness space, with your clients. And I guess what I want to ask, man, is why you're a believer of the deadlift,
So for me, the deadlift is a foundational strength movement. So squatting, deadlifting, benching, teaching someone how to properly pick something up off the floor is really important for everyday life. And so squatting and deadlifting are two of the most functional movements that you can do. So having someone learn how to do that within the confines of the gym and the weight room will help transfer into their everyday life, will enhance their longevity with their physical fitness and their overall health as a whole when they get older. So I have clients who have been in middle school, who I've trained, that are playing sports or doing this, doing that, teach them the deadlift. I have my oldest clients who's 83, teach him the deadlift. So everyone that I train at some point or another, whether it's we're starting off with a kettlebell, whether we're starting off with dumbbells, will progress and get stronger within whatever they're doing, whatever variation they're doing. Most people will build to the barbell or trap bar, but the functionality of it and how it transfers into everyday life with what you're doing, I rarely would see or hear from anyone that doesn't pick up something off the floor in the last week. So that's something that you do every day. So learning how to actually move your body properly through that range of motion is something that will only benefit your overall life and will help you get stronger if that's a goal of yours. So
absolutely, man. Ryan, what muscles does this movement actually recruit? What muscles are you using? What muscles are you targeting when you do the deadlift?
So in layman's terms, it's really just the whole backside of your body. So from your hamstrings on up, your glutes, your lower back, your lats, and your traps, but also your whole core. So it wraps around, your core wraps around your whole trunks, your abs to your lower back, and all the muscles in between on your backside are in play. And really you're trying to create full body tension when you're actually performing the movement. So in getting stronger with it, you'll build your hamstrings, you'll build your glutes, you'll build your lower back strength. It's really one of the best movements that you can do to really bulletproof your lower back if you have lower back pain. I think it's really common to hear everyone fear doing the deadlift, especially if they have lower back pain, and this is probably more specific to someone that's middle-aged or someone that has a desk job and is sitting all day. A lot of people have lower back pain. A lot of people fear, I can't pick this up because I'm going to hurt my back, or I'm going to hurt my back even more, when really they're avoiding what they should be doing. So I think having a coach or having someone that can lead you through it properly and help build a foundation, build your strength accordingly, is always the best way to go about it. And then usually that fear dissipates within the person pretty quickly, because then they're like, oh, I can actually lift 100 pounds off the ground and it's not a problem for me. So as long as you're actually getting the proper coaching and getting someone that really is invested in you as a person that will help you along that journey, that's really one of the best routes that you can take if you're really trying to invest that time into it.
You mentioned a very good point, and that's the coaching, right? So even after this video, or maybe you're going down a rabbit hole of deadlift videos, I strongly encourage you all to seek that coaching, that professional, that expert that's going to just be on the outside watching you, keeping you safe, right? Just understanding that when it comes to this specific lift, it's very technical, and I think you should really have somebody there to at least watch what you're doing and might be able to give you some cues to correct your form and to keep you safe. And so
to that point, everything that Juan Luis was just saying, you're never too cool to ask for help. You're never too experienced to seek a coach or anything like that. So like, no matter where you are, if you're just someone that's just entering the gym, you're a teenager, you're in your early 20s, and you see everyone that's deadlifting or squatting or doing this, and they're trying to get stronger and they're lifting heavier weights and things like that, like, go up to someone in the gym who you think might be a trainer, or go up to someone in the gym that you think has a lot of experience and ask them like, hey, can you help me out with this? Or I need a little bit of advice with this, because 10 times out of 10, I would say 9 times out of 10, but 10 times out of 10, that person who you're going up to was once in your shoes and is more than willing to help you. So if you have the courage to go up to someone, it's really not something that you have to worry too much about, because that person's probably flattered that you're going up to them in the first place, and they'd be more than willing to help you with whatever lift it is. We're talking about the deadlift, but with whatever lift it is that you're doing. And I'm sure that you'll actually probably see that person in the gym again, and then you can kind of form a bond within that relationship already from you going up to them and having the courage to go up to them and ask for help, and they'll probably start to give you more advice, just unsolicited, like free advice anyway. So
yeah,
that's something that I found personally out of experience, both being on the side of going up to someone and asking for advice, and receiving the compliment of someone coming up to me and asking for advice. So
yeah,
I think that's an important part of that too.
What I want to do, Ryan, is I want to get into a segment where we're actually sharing some tips, maybe your top 3 tips that you might have, that you can share with the viewers, certain cues that, once again, they could look out for when they're in the gym trying to perform this lift. And I'll share my top 3 and we can go from there.
Cool.
See you guys there. 3 tips from each of us, things that you want to watch out for. So Ryan, I'm going to let you take the first tip, and then...
All right, tip number 1 for me is use your legs. When you're doing the deadlift, you're trying to push into the ground. Your body's pushing into the ground as you're lifting the bar up off the ground. So if you were to like really break down a slow-mo video of a deadlift, you're not gonna visually see it, but before I'm actually initiating me to go up, I'm going to be pushing into the ground as that bar raises up off the ground. So usually what you'll see people do, if they're not doing that right, or they're not properly using their legs to initiate the movement, is they're gonna start to go and their hips are gonna shoot up before the bar moves off the ground. And that's a telltale sign that like you're not actually pushing to the ground. Ideally, your hips and the bar will raise as one once you perform the deadlift. So pushing into the ground is paramount into actually expressing your maximal power, maximal strength in this. Your legs are stronger, your lower body's stronger than your upper body. So like pushing into the ground is huge when it comes to getting stronger and doing this right.
Yeah, awesome. Well, my first tip would be using your hips, right? So there's a certain moment where the bar is coming off the ground, and after you've used your legs to drive through, you need to remember that the muscle that you're recruiting to get your hips through is your glutes. And so just thinking about that and having that focus is going to help you to finish the movement with your lower body and with your glutes and your hips, versus carrying the weight with your back and trying to lift with your back. So use your hips.
Tip number 2 for me would be we are learning how to brace. You're trying to create full body tension, but bracing your core is hugely important before you actually initiate the movement again. So the way that you can think about it is you're going to take a big inhale, and you can think about your torso or your trunk as kind of like a balloon. When you blow up a balloon, it expands 360 degrees. So I'm taking this big deep breath in, but it's not like me going up like this. I'm trying to expand out and hold that breath so that I'm creating that tension not only through my core but through the back side of my lower back and along my spine, so that everything's nice and tight. And if everything's not nice and tight, that's where people usually will find themselves getting into trouble and possibly getting hurt, is they're not using their breath to their advantage and bracing their core properly, because they're going to be loose, so to speak, as opposed to tense or creating that full body tension once you actually lift the weight. So that's number 2 for me.
I'm going to piggyback off that tension just because this is going to play a huge part in keeping your back straight and everything nice and postured where it needs to be to keep you safe, and that's posturing up your chest or having a proud chest as you perform the movement. And so getting into a good posture, pulling your shoulders back and keeping that chest nice and open as you're descending as well. That's going to prevent your back from rounding out, and it's going to keep you nice and strong.
On the back side of that, my 3rd one would be to be tight through your lats. And for those of you that don't know, your lats, your latissimus dorsi is in your back. It's the larger muscle group in your back, but you're basically trying to create tension through your back as well. So it's not only just your core, but by thinking about, and a couple cues you can think about is when you're actually down ready to pick up the bar, you can think about bending the bar around your legs, which will basically turn your elbows in. And the minute that you do that, your lats are nice and tight, which will help you be nice and tight for the movement. You can also think about having something in your armpit, you're basically trying to crush it, and that'll keep you nice and tight too. So as long as everything in that chain, all the way up from the feet, all the way up through really your lats and upper back is nice and tight, it'll allow you to execute the movement a lot better. So that's my last tip.
My last tip here, chalk. Now, this is something that actually Ryan recommended that he kind of opened my eyes to. I have actually never used chalk before until he brought it up to me. And I realized what a game changer it was. And so I find my hands giving out before the rest of my body does. And I look at chalk as a tool to help me to just keep my focus where it needs to be, and that's on every single one of these tips and just having yourself a good workout. So get yourself some chalk and pay attention to all these little cues. You'll be on your way to performing that deadlift.
I'm going to take you guys through what it is that I'm thinking about as I approach the bar and kind of what I'm thinking about as I do my warm-up sets. So number 1 is your feet placement. Now, conventional deadlifts are going to be about hip width apart with your feet. So if you were to do a vertical jump test and you were trying to jump as high as you can, you're probably going to put your feet here, you're probably not going to put your feet here. So as opposed to being out here, you're going to be here. And you can express the most power into the ground, because like I said before, it's a push movement into the ground with your legs to actually get this up. So I'm going to be here with my feet, I'll step up towards the bar, I'm about an inch or so away from my shins with the bar. Okay, so that's where my feet are. Once I begin to descend down, I got a slight bend in my knees, but I'm going to hinge. So my hips go back, my hands will grip the bar right outside my legs, and this is basically my starting position. So you can see my hips are above my knee. I don't want to be squatting it, okay? And I also don't want to be super high with my hips either, because then I won't be able to push with maximal force into the ground. So I'm pushing into the ground. My breath, again, I'm going to take a big deep breath in and hold it. Okay, so I'm tight through my legs, I'm tight through my core, and then I'm going to turn my elbows in, or my shoulder blades down and back, and then I'll come up with it and do my deadlift. So those are some of the keys that we went through upstairs. When you're actually doing it, you build confidence doing it. It shouldn't be something where you're going slow. It should not look like this. You shouldn't be going here, okay? It should be something that's much more forceful, but under control. So I'm coming straight up my legs with this bar, and kind of like Juan Luis said upstairs, once you get past your knees with this bar, you're shoving your hips through. It shouldn't be slow, 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 I finish. I should be here, and then I shove my hips through. It's not gonna be super fast with every single weight that you do, because obviously as you get heavier with the weight that you got on the bar, it'll move a little bit slower, but mentally, my mindset is I'm pushing, I'm braced, I'm engaged with my lats, and I finish this nice and tight up here by throwing my hips through to finish. if you are building up to a heavier weight and you don't have chalk necessarily, or you haven't gotten chalk yet, is staggering your grip. So it's called a mixed grip. You can stagger your grip, but it's basically one hand's over, one hand is under. So if you're going over and over, you got both hands overhand grip. Usually if you're starting to go heavier, your grip will be your first limiting factor, not really your overall strength. So that bar will roll out of your hands. If you stagger your grip, one hand will catch it, the other hand will be gripping overhand. So you can go either way, you can play with it. For me, I like to personally be right hand under, left hand over for my heavier sets. It's the same width that I'm gripping it, and everything else stays the same, but I'm just now holding it like this. So again, as I go to lift it, as opposed to being here, I've got one hand underneath. This hand will catch it, this hand is here, so I'm nice and secure, especially with heavier weights. So
I hope you all got some value from the few tips that we were able to share. And here we are at Club Sport, ready to put that knowledge to use. And Ryan, what kind of weight are you going to put up today?
hoping for over 500.
500?
Confident in over 500, but we'll see.
I'm going nowhere near that, but I'm gonna do my best, and we're gonna try to have some fun here. I hope you all enjoy.